My friends, be still a moment. Let your shoulders drop. Let the air move easily in and out of your chest. For tonight we step behind the curtain of appearances into the quiet workshop, where all things are made. You have knocked at this door because something in you knows there is more. More speed, more ease, more certainty than you have yet allowed yourself to live. You have prayed, you have affirmed, you have visualized, and still you wonder, why do manifestations take so long? Why do desires seem delayed? Even when I am faithful, why does the world answer me slowly? If it is true that imagination creates reality, listen carefully. I am not here to give you another technique to chase. I am here to lay a key in your hand. A simple key, so simple that the mind, trained to struggle, often misses it. Yet once you take it up, you will watch your world bend with a speed that others will call miraculous. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So writes the evangelist in the opening lines of John. When I first heard those words as a young man, I thought they spoke of something remote, some thunderous syllable uttered in ages past. But I tell you now from experience, the Word is not spoken by lips of flesh. The Word is the conversation you keep with yourself in the secret places of the mind. Your inner speech, the quiet, ceaseless talk you hold with the I Am, is the creative power by which your world is formed. You may hear me say this and nod, for you have heard me say it before. But tonight, I ask you to hear it, not as doctrine, but as a discovery, your discovery. For if the Word is your inner conversation, then creation is not distant, and it is not slow. Creation is immediate in its cause. Delay lives only where your inner talk divides. Most men pray as beggars. They ask with their lips for what they deny with their inner voice. Outwardly they say, I am healed, I am prospered, I am loved. Inwardly, the old dialogue continues. When will it happen? Why hasn't it happened? What if it never comes? And so they seed tomorrow with the same yesterday, and call it time. But the moment you align your inner word with your assumed end, without commentary, without correction, without the nervous habit of checking, the world begins to move. Invisible bridges raise themselves beneath your feet. People change. Doors unlatch. Incidents gather as though they had rehearsed it while you slept. Not because chance smiled, but because you finally spoke to yourself from the place where the thing is already done. Make no mistake, the universe is not delaying you. Your divided word delays you. You do not suffer from a lack of power, but from a surplus of contradictory speech. You say, I am. And then you say, I am not. And your world, obedient servant that it is, reflects the mixture faithfully. So let us begin again. Simply, like children who believe the costume is the king. Close the eyes of argument and open the ear of feeling. Attend to what is speaking within you now. What is your heart whispering about your body, your money, your home, your love? What little phrases run on the thread of your day, unnoticed yet tireless? It always takes me longer. They never choose me. Another bill. One day. My dear ones, those are the words that fashion the hours you walk through. They are not commentaries on life. They are commands to life. I am not asking you to fight them. What you fight you enthrone. I am asking you to replace them with a single royal decree, and to wear that decree like a garment until it becomes your skin. Hear me. You do not pray toward the end. You pray from it. You do not speak as a traveler reporting distance. You speak as the resident describing home. When you take up the inner conversation of the fulfilled desire, when you answer your world from the state where the thing is already yours, you have found the speed you seek. For creation knows nothing of clocks. It knows only the now of your assumption. Some will protest, but Neville, am I not lying to myself? No. You are telling the truth ahead of the evidence. The senses report, they do not decree. The decree is always uttered in the invisible. Judge not by appearances. Appearances are yesterday's news. Let us anchor this in the simplest way. Suppose you desire reconciliation with a friend. The beggar prays, please, let them come back. The prince within, who knows his word is law, Let's the inner conversation be this. What a joy to hear from you. Yes, Saturday works beautifully. I've missed the sound of your laugh. That is not hope speaking, that is possession speaking. And possession once spoken within must publish itself without. Suppose you desire abundance. The beggar counts coins, rehearses prices, measures risk. The royal word is quiet and sure. I love the ease with which money moves in my life. I choose what I prefer. I bless and I pay, and it returns multiplied. Do you see? You are not performing sentences. You are returning to your origin, the I am that makes all things by imagining them. The great secret is not new arrangement, but new inner speech. To change the word is to change the world. The world is only the echo. So be very gentle now. Be very simple. As you listen to me, allow the shoulders to soften, the jaw to unclench. Let the mind so eager to solve be a child again. You do not have to earn this. You need only accept that you are already the one who speaks the living word. If tonight you will dare one thing, dare this for the next breath. Talk to yourself as the one who has not, as the one who hopes, or tries, or waits, but as the one who is. Wear the end like a robe. Answer every thought from there. If doubt knocks, let the resident reply, all is well, it is done. If fear whispers calendars and odds, let the king answer, I am. My beloved friends, we begin here, in the hush where the true voice is heard. For if in the beginning was the word, then your new beginning is nothing more than a new word, chosen deliberately, felt naturally, and kept faithfully. And so breathe once more, slowly, feel the chair beneath you, the ground supporting you, and allow this assurance to settle. There is no distance between you and your desire, but a sentence. Speak it within, from the end, and let the world catch up. Tonight I will guide you into the very mechanism that makes creation instant. Before you leave this moment, I ask you to do one simple thing, not for me, but for yourself. Speak to the universe, right now, as the creator you are. Whisper it, write it, declare it below, so that your own eyes may see the truth. Your heart already knows, I am ready to receive. When you write those words, you are not leaving a comment. You are sending a signal into the unseen. You are telling infinite intelligence, I'm done waiting. I'm done doubting. I am ready now. So write it boldly. Let the universe hear you. Because the moment you declare it, the law begins to move. My dear friends, let me now take you beyond the surface of what the world calls the secret. Most people think manifestation is about wanting something hard enough, repeating affirmations, visualizing, hoping that somehow, one day the universe will deliver. But that is not the secret. The true secret, the one hidden in plain sight, is this. The outer world is nothing more than your inner conversation made visible. The alignment between your inner dialogue and your assumed state is what brings creation into form. It's not about wishing, it's not about waiting, it's about being. You see, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who desire, and there are those who assume. The desiring ones are always reaching. I want more money. I wish I could find love. I hope my life gets better. Their very words, their inner whispers, are confessions of lack. They live in the consciousness of not having. And then there are the assumers. They close their eyes and feel. They step into the reality of already being the one who has received. Their words are different. It's wonderful to be so provided for. It feels so good to be loved and understood. And because their inner world already contains the fulfillment, the outer world has no choice but to mirror it. Let me share a story with you, one that reveals this truth in motion. Some years ago, a woman came to one of my lectures. Her heart was heavy. She had been estranged from her son for more than 3 years. She had prayed, she had begged, she had visualized, yet nothing seemed to change. When she spoke, her words were filled with sorrow. Why won't he talk to me? What did I do wrong? Will he ever forgive me? And I said to her, my dear, your inner conversation is keeping you apart. You are maintaining the very state you long to dissolve. That night, I asked her to change her words, not spoken aloud, but inwardly. To imagine, instead, this simple phrase, how lovely it is to talk to my son every day. How natural it feels to hear his laughter again. She did this faithfully. Within a week, just 1 week, her son called her. Not only did he call, but he apologized, saying he had been thinking of her constantly and wanted to mend their bond. Now tell me, was this chance? No, my friends. It was law, divine, precise, and unfailing. Here lies the great misunderstanding. You are not manifesting slowly. You are manifesting contradictions. You say one thing, but inwardly you feel another. You affirm abundance, but your heart whispers fear. You imagine love, but your inner dialogue speaks of loneliness. It is not the universe delaying you. It is your own divided mind creating interference. You are both the sender and the receiver, but the signal cannot be clear until the message is one. When your inner conversation and your assumed state become one, manifestation is instant because there is no distance between cause and effect. You see, the delay you perceive, this waiting, this someday, it's not real. It's an illusion woven by the mind, born from disbelief. Time, as you know it, is the space between assumption and faith. When faith is complete, time dissolves. The universe does not need time. Only your disbelief does. When you assume completely, when you feel it real, everything in creation moves to mirror that assumption. Not next month. Not next year. Now, because now is the only moment that ever truly exists. So tonight, as you listen to these words, stop trying to become, simply be. Be the one who already has. Be the one who already knows. Be the one who is grateful now, and you will find, as countless others have, that life bends to your conviction like iron before a flame. If you understand this, if you feel this truth moving within you, declare it, say it aloud, or write it below so that the universe may echo your certainty. I am ready to receive. For in that declaration, you align word, feeling, and state. And the moment you do, the universe answers, it is done. Let us go deeper now. Let us take this great mystery, this quiet power called inner conversation, and look at how it builds the very states you live in. Everything you experience in this world is born from a state of consciousness, and every state of consciousness is maintained or destroyed by the words you whisper to yourself in secret. You may not be aware of it, but right now, as you listen, a dialogue continues within you. It speaks about your body, your money, your work, your worth. That dialogue never sleeps. It runs beneath your actions like a hidden current, shaping what you see and what you don't. You do not live by what you want. You live by what you assume and keep confirming through your inner words. Most men try to change the outer world first. They move furniture, chase opportunity, argue, resist, worry, and yet nothing truly shifts, because the outer is not the cause, it is the echo. You cannot change the reflection by polishing the mirror. You must change the face it reflects. Let me tell you of a man I once knew in New York City. A businessman, bright and ambitious, but always anxious. He came to me during one of those seasons the papers called a recession. Factories were closing, clients withdrawing, fear spreading faster than news. He said, "Neville, I'm doing everything right. I'm networking, I'm working harder than ever, but everything keeps falling apart." And I asked him, "What are you saying to yourself when the office is quiet?" He hesitated, then smiled nervously. "Well, I keep thinking about how bad the market is, about how people are afraid to spend, about how hard it will be to survive the year." I said to him gently, "My friend, that is your prayer. You have been praying for loss, eloquently, consistently, and with great feeling." He frowned. "I'm not praying for that." And I said, "Oh, but you are. Every inner conversation is a prayer. Every sentence you repeat with emotion is a command to the infinite. You cannot serve two masters, faith and fear, for one will cancel the other." That night, I asked him to create a new conversation, not as fantasy, but as fact. He was to hear his clients praising his resilience, to feel the gratitude of signing new contracts, to walk through his office with the quiet assurance of success. He was not to argue with appearances. He was to ignore them entirely and listen only to the sound of abundance in his own mind. He did. Within weeks, the impossible happened. While others were closing their doors, his business expanded. A foreign company, one he had never met, reached out with a lucrative partnership. He told me later, it was like the world suddenly decided I was safe to prosper. But it wasn't the world that changed. It was his word. My dear friends, understand this. Your inner conversation builds the structure of your state. Repeat a thought often enough, and it becomes a mood. Nurture that mood, and it hardens into a belief. That belief becomes your dwelling place, your state of being. And the state always expresses itself as outer fact. If you wish to change the world you walk through, you must first change the state you walk from. And the way to do that is by changing your inner conversation. Everything begins with repetition. The mind does not know the difference between truth and imagination. It only knows what is consistent. What you repeat becomes familiar, and what is familiar becomes accepted. This is why worry is so powerful. Not because it is true, but because it is persistent. Each time you think, this is hard, you deepen the groove of difficulty. Each time you say, I can't afford it, you reinforce the state of lack. But the same law that enslaves you can set you free. Begin to whisper new words, not as struggle, but as choice. Each repetition plants a new seed. Each time you say, I am already provided for, you water the garden of abundance. Each time you say, life flows easily to me, you widen the channel through which ease must come. Words are the builders of worlds. Change the words, and you will see the scaffolding of your old life crumble before your eyes. Let me share another story, one that delights me every time I recall it. A young school teacher came to one of my meetings, weary and discouraged. She said, Neville, I love teaching, but my students are impossible. They are noisy, disobedient, and I dread going to class. I've tried everything. Discipline, rewards, punishments. Nothing works. I smiled and said, my dear, what are you saying about them when you are alone? She sighed, that they're impossible, that they don't care, that I can't handle them. Exactly, I said. That is your inner conversation, and they are simply obeying it. I asked her to try something that seemed foolish to her at first. Each night before she slept, and each morning before entering her classroom, she was to hold a short inner conversation. She would hear herself saying, my students are eager and respectful. Teaching them is such a joy. She would imagine their laughter, not mocking but warm. She would feel the atmosphere of harmony, as if it were already true. She promised to try. 2 weeks later, she returned, her face glowing. Something strange is happening, she said. They're calmer, they listen. Even the most difficult ones are beginning to participate. It's as if someone replaced my class with another. I told her, no, my dear, you replaced yourself, and they are simply mirroring the new state you now occupy. The outer world you see is not independent of you. It is the shadow cast by your assumption. You moved from the state of dreadful teacher with hopeless students to joyful teacher with eager learners, and the shadow rearranged itself instantly. That is how inner conversation works. You may say, but Neville, I am trying to assume, and I tell you, you cannot help but assume. You are always assuming something about yourself. Every sigh, every complaint, every silent judgment, it is all assumption. The only question is, what are you assuming, and are you willing to assume differently? Because assumption is not effort, it is acceptance. When you truly accept a new identity, the inner conversation appropriate to that identity flows naturally. Think of a child pretending to be a pirate. He doesn't need to remind himself to say R or to hold his sword boldly. The moment he assumes the role, the behavior follows. Likewise, When you assume the state of wealth, you don't need to force yourself to think wealthy thoughts. They flow effortlessly, because they are natural to that state. When you assume love, you stop counting rejections. When you assume health, you stop discussing symptoms. When you assume success, you stop measuring failure. The inner speech of the new state becomes your only language. You are never manifesting slowly. You are manifesting the mixture of two opposing assumptions, one spoken by the lips and one whispered by the heart. Bring them into harmony, and you will discover that manifestation is not a process at all. It is a recognition, the outer world catching up to what you already dared to be within. So let me ask you now, what are you saying to yourself about your life when no one is listening? That conversation is the script of your future. You need not fear it. You need only change it. And if you will right now, softly, quietly, make a new decree within. I am already that which I seek. Hold it for just a breath longer than you usually would. And know that at this very moment, creation has begun to rearrange itself around your new word, because it always does. Now let us walk into the heart of this teaching, the law of assumption. For everything you have heard until now leads to this single luminous truth. To assume is to become. Those 5 words contain the whole secret of creation. You see, desire is only the spark. It is the invitation, but assumption is the flame that answers it. When you desire, you stand outside your wish. You look at it as something over there, something to chase, to earn, to wait for. You keep feeding the sense of distance between you and it. When you assume, you cross that invisible distance. You enter the end. You begin to be it. You stop hoping, and you start remembering. To assume is to claim your desire as fact. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now, within. And when you hold that feeling of it is done, life must echo it in form. Most people never move beyond desire. They want health, they want wealth, they want love, but wanting only proves its absence. To want something is to confess, I do not yet have it. And so they live in that state, half believing, half doubting, their lips saying one thing, their hearts quietly repeating another. But the law does not respond to your words. It responds to your state. Your assumption is the living seed. Once you assume, the invisible forces of life start to organize themselves to express it. Let me tell you, assumption is not pretending. It is not acting as if, it is being. When I assume that I am wealthy, I do not pretend to be wealthy. I feel what it is like to already live in that abundance. I sense the ease in my movements, the freedom in my choices, the quiet gratitude that flows through my day. That feeling, sustained, not forced, not chased, but quietly owned, becomes my new reality. For the world is nothing but imagination, objectified. Years ago, a man came to me, burdened by poverty. He said, Neville, I have tried to imagine money. I visualize it every night. Yet my life does not change. And I said to him, you imagine money, yes, but as a thing you hope to possess, not as a state you already are. He looked at me puzzled. So I told him, stop imagining having money. Begin imagining being wealthy. He did not understand the difference at first. So I explained, when you imagine having money, you are a poor man thinking of a rich man's world. But when you imagine being wealthy, you are already rich in consciousness. And the world, being only your reflection, must soon agree. He took it to heart. He began to change his inner speech, not to say I will have, but I am. He walked through the city with a different bearing, a lighter step, a quieter mind. And in less than a month, he received an opportunity, an unexpected inheritance that lifted him entirely out of debt. He said, Neville, it felt as if I was always meant to have this. And I told him, of course, because the moment you assumed it, you became it. And life simply rearranged itself to reflect your assumption. So I tell you tonight, stop desiring and start assuming. Desire looks up at the mountaintop and says, one day I'll climb. Assumption stands at the summit and says, I have already arrived. That is the difference between hoping and knowing, between wishing and being. Every assumption, no matter how impossible it seems, if persisted in, will harden into fact. For imagination creates reality, and assumption is imagination clothed with faith. When you pray, you are not begging for change, you are entering the end. You pray from the wish fulfilled, not for it. If you desire love, stop saying, "When will I find someone?" Instead, assume the state of already being loved. Feel the safety of it, the warmth, the laughter in your home. Let the tone of that life color your inner speech. If you desire health, stop saying, "I hope I get better." Instead, assume the state of already being whole. Feel the lightness in your body, the calm rhythm of breath, the joy of movement. Speak to yourself as one who is already healed. If you desire abundance, stop saying, "I wish I could afford it." Assume the state of ease, generosity, freedom. Hear the sounds of life moving easily around you. Bills paid, opportunities flowing, gratitude expanding. That state, that inner climate is your command to creation. Now listen closely, for this is crucial. You do not have to know how it will happen. You only have to know that it is already so. The bridge of incidents, the events that carry you from here to there, will unfold naturally, sometimes strangely, but always perfectly. The mind will try to interfere, to question, to plan, but your task is not to make it happen. It is to remain in the assumption. The moment you begin to live as though your wish is already fulfilled, you have moved from desire into faith, and faith, sustained, becomes reality. For as I have said many times before, your assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. So tonight, before you close your eyes, ask yourself one question. What would it feel like if it were already done? Do not answer with words, answer with feeling. And once you feel it, once you touch that invisible certainty, do not drop it to check results. Hold it gently, naturally, as though it were the most ordinary thing in the world. For to the one who assumes, miracles are not surprises, they are habits. You see, my friends, when you assume, you stop reaching for the divine and begin speaking as the divine. You cease to ask and start declaring. You stop waiting and begin knowing. To assume is to become, and when you become, the world must bend. Now, before we move any further, I want you to seal this truth, not only in your heart, but in the visible world. Take a slow, steady breath. Feel the calm certainty of your new state, and then write it below in the comments, not as a hope, but as a decree. It is done. I am that. When you type those words, you're not simply leaving a comment. You're impressing the universe with your declaration. You're saying, "I no longer wait. I no longer wish. I am." Let your written word become the echo of your assumption. Because the universe responds to only one language, the language of being. To live in the end is to abandon the middle. It is to stop worrying about how and when, and to rest entirely in the feeling of the fulfilled desire. This, my friends, is one of the most misunderstood teachings in all of manifestation. People hear it, they nod, and they say, "Yes, I understand." But few ever truly live it. To live in the end means that inwardly you dwell in the reality where your desire is already accomplished. You think from it, you feel from it, you respond from it. Even though the outer world has not yet caught up, you do not imagine the process. You imagine the result. You don't climb the ladder. You are already standing at the top. It is not about pretending. It is about knowing that the end exists now in imagination, and that imagination is the only reality. Let me give you a story that shows the power of this truth. Some years ago, a young actor came to me, restless and uncertain. He had talent, but no opportunity. His friends told him to be realistic, to get a stable job. But he said to me, "Neville, I know I was born to perform, yet I can't seem to make it happen." I asked him, "Where are you living, inwardly?" He said, "In the struggle, in the waiting. I keep hoping that one day someone will discover me." I smiled and said, then you are living in the state of waiting, and life, obedient servant that it is, must give you more of it. Stop waiting to be discovered. Discover yourself. That night, I taught him to live in the end. I told him, before you sleep, close your eyes and feel the thrill of already being who you desire to be. Do not think of becoming a successful actor. Think from being one. Hear the applause. Feel the warmth of the stage lights. Sense the weight of the script in your hands. And when you rise in the morning, carry that feeling with you as naturally as your own name. He did exactly that. He told me he would walk through the city as if every person already knew his work. He carried himself with quiet confidence, not arrogance, but certainty. He stopped talking about trying and began saying, "This is what I do." Within 3 months, he received a call for an audition, a small role that became the opening of an extraordinary career. Years later, he told me, "Neville, the world didn't change when I got the role. It changed the night I decided I already had it." That is what it means to live in the end. You see, there is no power in imagining the process, in rehearsing the steps, worrying about timing, or waiting for signs. The process belongs to the old state. Creation happens the moment you enter the end. When you live in the end, you no longer beg reality to change. You command it simply by assuming the tone of the fulfilled desire. You walk, breathe, and think as though the miracle were already behind you, because in truth it is. This is the key. You cannot live in two worlds at once. You cannot say, "I am rich," while secretly feeling lack. You cannot say, "I am loved," while rehearsing rejection. To live in the end, you must abandon the old state entirely. Its conversations, its habits, its fears. Think of yourself as an actor changing roles. When you step onto the stage in a new costume, you do not carry the old script with you. You embody the new character fully. And for the audience, which is your outer world, that character is now the only truth. When you live in the end, you stop seeking proof, because the proof has already been accepted within. The outer world becomes secondary, a slow-moving reflection of your inner acceptance. The beggar looks at the world and says, "I'll believe it when I see it." The Creator looks within and says, "I'll see it because I've already believed it." That is the difference between waiting for miracles and being the miracle. Living in the end also means learning to let go of resistance, to stop measuring your progress, stop asking "where is it?" and start saying, "I know it's done." For every time you check for results, you return to the old state, the state of not having. But when you hold the end naturally, without strain, reality cannot resist you. It must obey its cause. My friends, living in the end is not about forcing feelings. It is about accepting the truth that imagination is already fulfillment. It is done the moment you assume it. The rest is simply the bridge of incidents carrying you toward the scene you have already entered within. So tonight, don't imagine the path, imagine the arrival. Don't imagine waiting for the call. Imagine thanking the one who gave it to you. Don't imagine striving for health. Imagine waking up free, whole, strong, breathing easily, and saying, "It's wonderful to feel so alive." Stay in that end until it feels natural, because what feels natural to you must, by law, become your world. Now, before we move on, let us anchor this truth together. Take a breath, close your eyes for a moment, and write this in the comments below. As a declaration, not a wish, I am already living in the end. Let the universe see your written word. You are not hoping anymore. You are being. And from this state of being, the whole world must rearrange itself to reflect your assumption. There is a bridge between imagination and reality, and that bridge is feeling. It is the sacred key that unlocks every door in your world. For thought by itself is like a seed without water. It may contain life, but it will never bloom until feeling gives it vitality. This is why I tell you, feeling is the secret. You may think thousands of thoughts in a day. I want this. I hope that. I need this to change. But until one of those thoughts is soaked in emotion, until it becomes alive in you, it remains only a shadow of creation. Your subconscious, which is the creative power, does not respond to logic or words. It responds only to the emotional tone behind them. When you feel something to be true, your subconscious accepts it as law. It does not argue. It does not question. It obeys. That feeling becomes a command that life must fulfill. Let me explain it this way. If you were to close your eyes right now and imagine holding a rose, you might picture it clearly, its color, its shape, its petals. But if you can feel its texture in your fingers, smell its fragrance, sense its softness, you are no longer imagining the rose, you are experiencing it. That difference between imagining and feeling real is the entire difference between wishing and manifesting. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you give form to the formless. You are saying to creation, "This is who I am now." And the universe, faithful servant that it is, reshapes itself to agree. For as I have said before, you do not pray for things, you pray from them. You don't pray to receive health. You pray from the state of being healthy. You don't pray for love. You pray from the joy of already being loved. You don't pray for abundance. You pray from the freedom and gratitude of abundance already yours. Prayer is not asking. It is feeling as though it were already answered. Faith, then, is not blind belief. Faith is feeling the reality of the unseen. When you feel your wish fulfilled, you are exercising faith in its most living form. You are saying, "I trust imagination more than I trust appearances." And that trust is what moves mountains. Many of you, my friends, have tried to manifest through repetition, through affirmations spoken again and again, hoping that the words themselves would create change. But repetition without feeling is lifeless. It is like striking a match in the rain. The words must carry emotion, the pulse of conviction. Each time you speak, it must feel like truth. When I say, "I am loved," I am not trying to convince myself, I am remembering. I am re-entering the state where that love already exists. Feeling is the language of creation. The universe does not hear words. It feels vibration. Every emotion you hold, joy, fear, doubt, gratitude, sends out a signal. And life, being perfectly reflective, returns that same signal in form. So when you feel frustration or lack, the world mirrors it faithfully. When you feel peace and fulfillment, the world bends to confirm it. This is not punishment or reward, it is law. You are not rewarded for positive emotions, nor punished for negative ones. You are simply experiencing the reflection of your inner atmosphere. And the moment you change that inner feeling, the reflection must begin to change too. This is why I say, your emotions are not random. They are creative. They are divine instruments through which you shape reality. A woman once told me, "Neville, I have been visualizing wealth for months, yet nothing happens." I asked her, "When you visualize, how do you feel?" She paused and said, "I feel tense, like I'm trying to make it happen." And I smiled. "Then you are imagining lack," I told her, "not wealth." For true imagination is effortless. It feels natural. It feels done. I asked her to try again, this time. Not to picture money, but to feel the ease of already having it. To sense the freedom, the quiet satisfaction of being provided for. Within days, her world began to change. She received an unexpected offer that brought her the exact amount she had been longing for, but more importantly, she said, "For the first time, I wasn't desperate. I was peaceful." That is the secret. When you feel peace, the manifestation is near. Peace is the signal that you are aligned with the fulfilled state. Feeling is the doorway through which faith becomes sight. Faith without feeling is like a promise without breath. But when faith and feeling unite, creation is instant. Now let us go deeper. The tone of your inner world, that subtle atmosphere of emotion that follows you everywhere, is the truest measure of your state. It is not what you think consciously for a few moments that creates. It is the persistent emotional climate you dwell in day after day. If you carry the tone of "it is done," life must echo that. If you carry the tone of "it is not yet mine," life must echo that too. This is why awareness is everything. You must feel what you desire as natural, not as extraordinary. For what feels natural becomes your world. And so tonight, I want you to try something simple, something powerful. When you lie down to sleep, close your eyes and let the world fade. Breathe deeply until you feel that soft border between wakefulness and rest. Then enter into the scene of your fulfilled desire, but not as an observer. Be in it. Feel the emotion of having it, the warmth of it, the ease, the gratitude. Let that feeling carry you into sleep, because the feeling you take into sleep is the seed you plant in the garden of your subconscious. And as you sleep, that seed grows. There is a doorway between the seen and the unseen, a silent threshold that every one of us crosses each night. In Scripture it is written, "Commune with your own heart upon your bed, and be still." This is not a poetic phrase, it is an instruction, a map, to one of the greatest secrets of creation. You see, as your body begins to drift towards sleep, your mind loosens its grip on the outer world. Logic fades. The senses grow quiet, and in that tender space between waking and sleeping, you are most impressionable, most powerful. That moment is what I call sats, the state akin to sleep. In sats, you are neither awake nor fully asleep. You hover in that delicious stillness where the conscious and subconscious meet, and it is there, in that meeting place, that your imagination speaks directly to the infinite. Every image you form, every feeling you sustain in that drowsy state, slips past the guards of the rational mind and takes root in the subconscious, the womb of creation itself. This is the sleep gateway. Understand this, whatever you carry into sleep tonight will bloom as experience tomorrow. If you fall asleep rehearsing your worries, you will awaken to more of them. If you fall asleep grateful and fulfilled, you will awaken to that same world multiplied. The mind is most obedient when the body is most relaxed. And so, the wise use the last 5 minutes before sleep to assume the state of their wish fulfilled. This is the true alchemy of transformation. Let me explain how to use it. As you lie in bed, allow your breath to slow. Let your body grow heavy, not with tension, but with surrender. Feel the weight of the day melt away. Then gently bring to mind a short, simple scene that would imply your desire is already realized. It might be a friend congratulating you, a loved one embracing you, or the sound of your own laughter echoing in satisfaction. Make the scene short, 5 or 10 seconds at most, but fill it with feeling. Feel the warmth of that moment, the reality of it. You are not watching it happen. You are in it. You are living it. Let the scene loop gently, like a lullaby. Repeat it again and again, not with effort, but with ease. And as you drift into sleep, let the scene carry you over the edge, as though your dream begins where your imagination ends. When you do this faithfully, night after night, your subconscious accepts it as fact. And because your subconscious is the power that animates your world, the outer reflection must soon appear. You see, most people use the moments before sleep to repeat their failures. They replay arguments, anxieties, and regrets. They fall asleep in the state of lack, and then wonder why the morning brings more of the same. But the awakened one, the creator, knows better. He or she enters sleep as the being they wish to be, and by doing so, they reprogram the universe itself. I once knew a woman who longed for healing after years of chronic pain. She had tried every remedy, every method, yet the pain persisted. When she came to me, I told her, each night as you lie down, do not fall asleep as the sick woman. Fall asleep as the healed one. So she imagined herself running through a field, laughing, free, feeling the strength in her legs and the lightness in her body. At first it felt unreal, like fantasy, but she persisted. After a week, she said to me, "Neville, I can feel it in my dreams. It's becoming natural." And within a month, her doctor was astonished. Her condition had improved beyond explanation. Why? Because she had changed the only thing that mattered, her state of consciousness. And she did it through the gateway of sleep. When you use satis, you are not merely visualizing, you are entering a new world. And that world, unseen at first, will become visible in time. You are moving from imagination into embodiment. Every night you have the chance to rewrite your destiny, to dissolve the old identity and awaken as the new, to say goodbye to the version of yourself that struggled, and goodnight to the one who already has. And here is something I want you to remember. You don't have to force belief, you simply have to feel the naturalness of the new state. If you can feel it real, just once, your subconscious accepts it completely. Do not measure results by days or weeks. Time is only the shadow of belief. Instead, ask yourself, did I fall asleep as the one who already is? If the answer is yes, then the work is done. Close your eyes. Let the world around you fade until only these words remain. You are not here to learn another technique. You are here to remember who you truly are. For the next moments, there is nothing to do, nothing to fix, nothing to seek. You are stepping into the state where all things are already accomplished. The only thing that matters now is the feeling of already being the one you wish to be. Feel yourself sinking into stillness. Your shoulders release all tension. Your mind begins to quiet, not because it is forced to, but because it knows it is safe here. You are entering the sacred space between thoughts, the place where imagination becomes creation. Now in this stillness, I want you to imagine a faint light above you. It's soft and golden, warm but not blinding, alive but calm. That light represents your awareness, your I am. It begins to flow gently downward, washing over you, relaxing every part of your body as it moves. The light touches your forehead, and all worries dissolve. It moves across your eyes, and all past images fade. It travels down your neck, your shoulders, your chest, and you feel a quiet power awakening inside. You are no longer thinking about life. You are feeling it directly. And now as this light reaches your heart, it expands. You begin to see, not with your eyes, but with your imagination. A scene starts to take shape before you. You find yourself standing in a space that feels perfect, your ideal world. Look around. The air is clear. The colors are vivid. The temperature is just right. There is a sense of peace here, a knowing that everything is working in your favor. You take a step forward and notice the ground beneath you feels firm yet gentle, like the universe itself is holding you. You can smell freshness in the air, the scent of new beginnings. Every sound you hear is harmonious, every detail meaningful. And as you stand in this space, you realize this is your world fulfilled. This is the world where your desire is no longer a desire. It is a fact. You are not wishing for abundance. You are living it. You are not seeking love. You are radiating it. You are not hoping for health. You are embodying it. Now I want you to let one of those fulfilled desires rise naturally within you. Whichever one feels most alive, abundance, reunion, healing, love, let it come to the surface. Do not chase it, simply allow it to appear. You are standing in your home, not a dream home in the distance, but your real, imagined home where abundance flows freely. The light of morning pours through the windows, soft and golden. You look around, and everything speaks of completion. The life you once longed for is now natural. You walk through the room and feel the texture of what surrounds you, the smoothness of polished wood under your fingertips, the quiet hum of calm energy in the air, the faint scent of fresh coffee or warm bread in the kitchen. You open a drawer, and inside you see what abundance looks like for you. Perhaps documents of success, letters of gratitude, or the simple comfort of knowing you have more than enough. You smile, not with excitement, but with peace. Because this is normal. This is who you are now. You feel the ease of financial freedom, not the thrill of receiving, but the calm of already having. The sense that money is a gentle current, always flowing in, never forced, never feared. It supports you effortlessly. You whisper within, I am already that which I seek. And the words feel true, because they are true. Now the scene shifts naturally, as if you are being carried by light into another world. You find yourself in a familiar place, perhaps a park, a quiet cafe, or a warm living room bathed in afternoon sun. And there, Across from you is the person whose presence once felt distant. They are smiling. Their eyes are soft. There is no tension, no need to explain or repair. You both simply understand. You can feel the texture of their hand as you reach out, warm, familiar, real. You can sense the air between you, filled with calm acceptance and gentle joy. You hear laughter, light and effortless. In this moment, you are no longer imagining reconciliation. You are in it. You are feeling it. There is a deep knowing that all is well. You have entered the state where love is constant, not conditional. You are not wishing for connection. You are living in it. Whisper again, I am already that which I seek. Let those words settle deep within you, like roots finding their soil. Now the scene changes again. You are outside, surrounded by nature. The air feels pure and alive. Each breath fills your body with strength and renewal. You look at your hands, they are steady and vibrant. You feel your body, strong, whole, light. You move effortlessly, each motion fluid, natural, joyful. The sunlight touches your skin like a blessing. You realize there is no trace of illness, fatigue, or resistance. Your body listens to your command because it knows your consciousness is master. You feel vitality humming through you, quiet but unstoppable. The truth becomes clear. Health was never something to recover. It was something to remember. You have remembered now, you are whole. Say within yourself, quietly but with conviction, it is done, I am that. Now everything begins to blend. Abundance, health, love, all merging into a single radiant state. You are in a world that mirrors your inner peace. Everywhere you look, you see evidence of harmony. People greet you kindly. The environment seems alive with beauty. There is no struggle here, no waiting, only being. You are the embodiment of the fulfilled wish. You can feel it in your breath, your posture, your awareness. It is as natural as breathing. You are not reaching for anything anymore. You have become it. This is what it means to live from the end. This is what it means to use imagination as creation. Now let this feeling expand until it fills everything. The space around you, the silence inside you, even the air itself. You are surrounded by proof that your inner world has already shifted. You do not need signs. You are the sign. You have crossed from wanting into being. You have moved from asking into knowing. You have entered the state of the wish fulfilled. Stay here. Let it feel ordinary. Let it feel true, because this is home, the home of your new reality. Now repeat within yourself, slowly and deliberately, letting each phrase become a law in your consciousness. I am not becoming. I am not asking. I am not wishing. I live in the end. Let these words melt into you until they stop being words and become identity. You are no longer visualizing. You are remembering. You are not dreaming. You are realizing. You are in the state of fulfillment. And in that state, all things are drawn to you effortlessly. Now the light around you begins to soften. It doesn't fade. It becomes part of you. It seeps into every cell, every thought, every breath. You have merged with it. And as you slowly become aware of your physical surroundings again, you know that the outer world will soon match what you have felt here tonight. Not because you forced it, but because it is law. Creation is complete. You are complete. And so I leave you with this final truth, to anchor deep within your being. You are now in the state of the wish fulfilled. Rest in it, live from it, and let the world reveal it. I want to share with you a few stories. Real lives, ordinary people who discovered the extraordinary truth that assumption, when felt as real, becomes fact. These are not miracles. They are laws in motion. Let me begin with the story of a woman who came quietly to one of my lectures many years ago. She sat in the back, small and still, as though afraid her sorrow might disturb the room. Her son had not spoken to her for 2 years. A single argument, sharp words, and pride on both sides had frozen their love into silence. Holidays passed like ghosts. She said to me afterward, "Neville, I've written him, I've called, but he never answers. I just want to hear his voice again. I told her gently, you already can. You don't need him to change. You need to hear differently within yourself. I explained that every inner conversation is a seed, and that what she had been planting were prayers of loss. Why won't he call me? What if he never forgives me? I asked her to stop begging and start assuming. That night, before sleep, she imagined the simplest thing, his voice close to her ear, saying, Mom, it's so good to talk to you. Not a long story, not a reconciliation scene, just that moment, real, brief, complete. She heard his tone, felt the warmth in his words, and fell asleep in that state. She did this for 3 nights. On the 4th day, she opened her mailbox to find a small postcard. No return address. On it, a blue kite flying in the sky, and 4 words, can we talk? J. She told me she laughed until she cried. The call came that same evening. There were tears, and then laughter, and then the most ordinary words. How have you been? When she changed the conversation inside, the outer world had no choice but to answer. Before they call, I will answer. That is scripture, and it is law. And now, let us move to another story. One about a man who believed his body had betrayed him. He was a quiet man, kind, serious, worn down by a diagnosis that carried more fear than fact. He told me, Neville, I have tried to think positively, but I can't fight what's happening to me. And I said, my friend, stop fighting. Begin remembering. I asked him to enter, each night before sleep, into a simple and vivid scene. See himself bending to tie his shoes in the morning, strong and steady. Feel the laces in his hands. Smell the leather, sense the ease of motion. I told him not to picture healing, but to feel being already healed. At first, he felt foolish, but by the 2nd week, small signs began to appear, less fatigue, a natural appetite, the faint hum of strength. By the 3rd week, the image he had imagined had become his morning reality. He bent, tied his shoes, and walked out into the sunlight with a smile. The doctors spoke of improvement, but he spoke of certainty. He had remembered health as his natural state. You see, when you assume the feeling of wholeness, the body obeys. The body does not heal you. The consciousness that commands the body heals through it. Let the weak say, I am strong. Do not say it as a request. Say it as truth. Now let us move to another soul, a young artist who once wrote to me in despair. Her studio was filled with canvases and dust. Rejection letters covered the table. They never choose me, she said. I'm not connected. I'm not lucky. I told her that luck is simply faith in disguise. I asked her to drop the waiting and live from the end. Each night she imagined a single scene, standing in a bright gallery, a curator shaking her hand and saying, thank you for trusting us with your work. The response has been wonderful. She felt the handshake, the warmth of the room, the hum of quiet voices, admiring her art. She didn't force belief. She let the scene play until it felt natural. 3 weeks later, a friend brought a friend to her studio. That friend happened to know a gallery owner. Within a month, she received her invitation to exhibit. On the closing night, the curator took her hand and said almost the same words she had heard in imagination. She wrote to me, it felt like remembering something that had already happened. That is creation in its purest form. You assume, you feel, and the bridge of incidents unfolds with mathematical precision. All things are ready, if the mind be so. Now let's turn to the story of a man who had spent years waiting for recognition in his work. He was competent, patient, invisible. One day they'll see my value, he used to say, but the phrase one day is poison to creation. It keeps fulfillment always just beyond the horizon. I told him, stop saying they will see. Begin living as the man who has already been seen. So each night, before drifting to sleep, he imagined hearing a colleague's voice saying, congratulations, I knew you'd get it. He felt the new weight of a key card at his belt, the higher view from an office window, the quiet ease of responsibility that fits like a tailored coat. He didn't scheme, he didn't push, he simply assumed the end and went about his days naturally. 2 weeks later, an unexpected resignation opened a new position. A client, impressed by his confidence, requested him personally. His manager took notice. Within a month, he received the promotion, the view, the feeling, all exactly as imagined. When he told me the story, he laughed and said, "Neville, it came by itself." And I said, "Of course, the outer always comes by itself, once the inner is claimed." Now, let me tell you of a woman who had walked many years alone. She had built a fine life, but deep down she carried a quiet ache, the kind that hides behind self-sufficiency. She said, "Perhaps love is not for me." I told her that was the most creative statement she could ever make, because it would be fulfilled as law. You see, even the words we whisper in resignation are commands, so I asked her to change the record. "Don't imagine finding love," I said. "Imagine already being loved." I asked her to see a simple domestic scene, 2 plates drying on the kitchen rack, laughter from the next room, the soft weight of a coat not her own hanging by the door. Feel it real, not as fantasy, but as memory. She did this nightly, gently, until it felt normal. And when it felt normal, the outer world moved. A friend invited her to a small gathering, something she would usually decline. She went without expectation, simply as the woman who already was loved. That night, she met the man who would soon become her companion. Not by accident, but by law. Months later, she wrote, "Every evening when I wash the dishes, I see the 2 plates and smile. They look exactly as they did in my imagination." You see, she did not imagine a person, she imagined a state. The person came because that state demanded expression. Seek first the kingdom, which means the inner arrangement, and all these things shall be added. And finally, let me tell you of a man who came to me at 70 years of age, elegant, dignified, and quietly defeated. He said, "Neville, I think my life is mostly over. My world has grown small." I told him, "The world only shrinks to the size of your imagination. If you can feel a larger life, you can live it now." He longed for 2 things, vitality and peace. So we created a small ritual. Each afternoon, as the sun entered his sitting room, he would close his eyes and imagine himself returning from a long, easy walk. He would hang his hat, feel the warmth in his legs, the calm pulse of energy through his chest, and the gentle satisfaction of being fully alive. He did this not to escape age, but to redefine it. Weeks passed. Then he noticed that neighbors began greeting him at corners farther from his home. His steps lengthened without his permission. He found himself walking streets he had once avoided. The newspaper headlines that once stirred fear now seemed irrelevant. He wrote to me, "Neville, my days are wide again." At 70, he had become young, because youth is not a number, but a state of consciousness. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. He renewed his inner walk, and the body followed like a loyal servant. Each of these lives follows the same hidden rhythm, a state felt as true, a bridge of ordinary events, and the world bending to match the tone of the inner word. The mother heard love and received a call. The man felt health and watched his body obey. The artist thanked life before the door opened, and the door could not stay closed. The worker wore confidence, and the title came to meet him. The solitary woman felt companionship, and the house filled itself. The elder imagined vitality, and the street widened before his feet. As within, so without. This is not metaphor, it is mechanics. When the inner word stops contradicting itself, time collapses. You are not manifesting slowly. You are manifesting contradictions. End the quarrel within, and the world will hurry to deliver the unity you have accepted. Do not dig up the seed to check its progress. Plant once, water it with feeling. Rest in thanksgiving. Gratitude is the perfume of fulfillment. You cannot imitate its fragrance. When thanks arises naturally, you know the state is planted. And remember, the bridge of incidents will rarely appear miraculous. It will seem ordinary. A postcard, a handshake, a stranger's invitation, a sunny walk. Yet, in every plank of that bridge, the law is working with quiet precision. So tonight, you may begin your own story. Choose one scene that implies your wish is fulfilled. Make it brief, sensory, inevitable. Feel it until it feels natural, and then let it go. Walk as though the unseen is already seen. Speak to yourself not as the one who hopes, but as the one who knows. And as you move through your days, say softly within, "It is done. I am that." Let the world become the echo of that living word, because the law never fails, and one day soon, your story will be told as proof that the universe responds not to pleading, but to being. And now, my friends, before you return to the noise of the outer world, pause for a moment. You have heard these stories not as tales of others, but as mirrors of your own potential. The law works for every being who dares to assume. If tonight you have felt even a spark of recognition, that quiet voice within saying, "Yes, this is true," then the work has already begun. You are no longer the one who wishes. You are the one who knows. But knowledge must be claimed. It must be sealed with a word, spoken from your own mouth into creation itself. So now, I invite you to take part in this sacred act. Go below and write these words, not as a comment, but as a declaration to the infinite. It is done. I'm ready to receive. When you write it, feel it, know it. You are impressing the universe with the language it understands, the language of being. And if this message has awakened something in you, share it. Let this truth move through the world as light through glass. Subscribe not to a channel, but to your own awakening. Because every time you return here, you are returning to remembrance. The remembrance of who you truly are. You are the creator, the dreamer, the living word made flesh. Rest in that knowing. Live from that end. And let your life itself become the testimony of the law.